I'm Wendy Luna, and I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in instructional technology at UTSA. I have always been a firm believer in the statement that only the educated are free. My hope is to one day work in instructional technology at the K-12 district level or at a college or university to promote and embed 21st century skills into the lives of both students and teachers, and ultimately provide a better future for my son and give him opportunities that I did not have. In ILT 5003, we have focused on 4 main themes, each of which will help me in pursuit of both my master's degree and my professional career goals. Recognizing the socio-political nature of education is essential. The system that is currently in place does not promote equitable funding in education. Schools and districts are extremely segregated by socioeconomic status. It is important for myself and fellow educators to understand the implications of socioeconomic status and its impact on educational opportunities for our students. An interdisciplinary approach to teaching and learning is key. Education is a complex field. It is not one size fits all, nor is everything in education black and white. In order to foster opportunities for success for all students, it is important to reach across content areas and make connections, not simply compartmentalize education into specific disciplines, levels, and abilities amongst other categories. Evaluating and applying key learning theories, whether classic, new, or a combination of both, is critical to finding the best strategy to use to ensure learning is happening for all students. We know that no two students are alike, and therefore no two students learn in the same way. A learning strategy that works for one student is not guaranteed to work for another. Therefore, we must work to meet the diverse needs of all learners in our classrooms. The content covered and activities completed in ILT 5003 has led me to reflect on my professional practice and to grow as an educator to better serve the needs of all of my students. The beginnings of the course were spent examining the history of education in the United States. We know that education has not always been equal or equitable for all students. Gloria Ladson Billings presents the idea of education debt in her article, From the Achievement Gap to the Education Debt, Understanding Achievement in U.S. Schools, focusing on the implications of historical, economic, sociopolitical, and moral debt. The socioeconomic education debt is comprised of the marginalization of minoritized people at national and local levels. Historically, minoritized people have been less involved in civic and legal processes than their white counterparts. This lack of involvement has had economic implications for people of color. The more education a person has directly affects their earning potential and overall economic status. Inequitable education experiences have allowed whites to obtain more education and therefore accumulate more wealth over time. This accumulated wealth even trickles into modern educational experiences through the funding mechanism for schools. Districts where properties are more expensive tend to have better schools, which are usually populated predominantly by white students. When examining social justice in education, Jean Agnon's article, Social Class and the Hidden Curriculum of Work, brought to light the practice that children are essentially educated based on the expectations of their social outcome based on their current social class. In her study, Agnon finds that the assignments students are asked to carry out require similar skill to that of the jobs their parents have in that particular community. Teachers are only expecting and preparing students to do what their parents have done and to maintain instead of advance in terms of social class. The socioeconomic nature of education is closely tied into the community that makes up a school district. I have personally witnessed the socioeconomic ties into education through my experiences as a teacher. I have worked in both Title I and wealthier school districts and have witnessed firsthand how the resources, teachers, and overall quality of education differs. In Title I schools, there tends to be a lack of resources, limits on paper, lack of textbooks and technology available, and little to no budget for classroom supplies. On the other hand, wealthier school districts tend to have resources more readily available, whether it be textbooks, computers, tablets, or classroom supplies. Wealthier school districts also tend to attract and maintain better teachers. In Georgia, I remember working with teachers who would move students along because they didn't believe they would go on to do anything productive with their lives, and therefore were not affording those students the same educational opportunities as others. Overall, school districts within communities of higher socioeconomic status tend to offer better educational opportunities to students, continuing the cycle of inequitable education in the United States. Interdisciplinarity in teaching and learning is essential due to the complex nature of education. Interdisciplinarity can address topics such as diversity, integrating technology, learning in real world settings, while ultimately fostering opportunities for success for all students. In 10 Cheers for Interdisciplinarity, the case for interdisciplinary knowledge and research, Moti Nisani defends the importance of interdisciplinary knowledge as it is often dismissed by scholars. For Nisani, interdisciplinarity encompasses knowledge, research, education, and theory, along with competencies across two or more disciplines. He argues that interdisciplinary knowledge and research cultivate the growth of knowledge, social benefits, and individual rewards. In his argument for interdisciplinary study, Moran presents the idea of an outsider's perspective. The outsider's perspective embraces the notion that an outsider brings in new ideas, has a different way of looking at a situation, and is more likely to notice variations than someone who is used to a situation. This point in favor of interdisciplinary knowledge and research is one of his strongest, in my opinion, and the most applicable to a K-12 education setting. In terms of curriculum planning, I think an outsider's perspective can be quite advantageous. I think planning with Spanish and/or other world language teachers from other schools in my district could help me to find a new or better way to teach certain concepts. Additionally, planning with teachers from different content areas could aid me in embedding cross-curricular content into our Spanish curriculum. Instructional design is not a one-size-fits-all dimension. In conjunction with interdisciplinarity, multiple learning theories may be applied to create the ideal educational environment in order to achieve the ultimate goal of learning. Classic learning theories include behaviorism, cognitivism, and social constructivism. B.F. Skinner, responsible for the behaviorism theory, argues that human behavior is ultimately a result of one's environment and the reinforcement they receive from their behaviors. Developer of the cognitivism theory, Piaget states that development is a process tied to biological maturation, while learning is triggered by situations and interaction with one's environment. Lev Vygotsky, pioneer of the social constructivism theory, states that there are three components to learning: social interaction, the more knowledgeable other, and the zone of proximal development. Each of these classic learning theories have applications in education depending on the content area and concept, and can be used in combination with one another. In my experience, each of these theories has a role in my classroom. Behaviorism and the idea of operant conditioning are important when it comes to establishing classroom management. Students learn how to behave through positive and negative reinforcement. Cognitivism is applied when learning vocabulary, where students can get instant feedback and be reevaluated. I do this through the use of technologies such as Quizlet Live and Kahoot. Social constructivism is utilized in my classroom quite a bit, whether through scaffolding with grammar concepts or when carrying out collaborative problem-based assessments. In order to reach all students, different theories must be applied in practice. Assessing how application of key foundational theories meet the needs of diverse learners and if they achieve the ultimate goal of learning is critical. Newer learning theories such as andragogy, situated learning, and constructionism expand on classic learning theories. Andragogy, developed by Malcolm Knowles, describes the assumptions a teacher can make about an adult learner, such as their self-concept, experiences, and orientation to learning, differing from younger learners. Lave and Wenger's situated learning describes the learning that takes place unintentionally through social interaction in a specific environment. The constructionism theory, presented by Pat Burton-Harrell, states that students learn through creating and sharing a tangible artifact. Each of these theories can be used in addition to the classic learning theories to address the needs of various learners. As a student in ILT 5003, I have been a part of the constructionism theory and practice. As individuals, we have our own knowledge base and we expand on it through our readings and module videos. The group collaboration component allows for the social interaction and presentation of various ideas and viewpoints to push learning further. Finally, with each module, we are asked to come together as a group to build a shareable artifact to showcase the learning that has occurred. Ultimately, ILT 5003 has provided me with a wealth of information that can be applied into practice to foster educational opportunities for all students. The first step in achieving this is by addressing social justice and the role of sociopolitical nature in education. It is important for students to be aware of injustices that are happening in our world, and it is also important for all students to feel included in curriculum and see people like themselves as successful. Taking an interdisciplinary approach to education is also essential to help students better understand content. When students are able to relate content to other disciplines or areas of their lives, they are able to make connections and build on knowledge in an inclusive way. In order to evaluate the ways in which key theories are manifested in diverse educational contexts, I plan to collaborate with my department and interdisciplinary team to discuss what kind of theories my colleagues are implementing in their classes through various activities and to collect feedback on what is working with certain students and what is not. Lastly, to assess how applications of key foundational theories meet the needs of diverse learners, I hope to implement specific theories for lessons of the same type, for example, grammar or vocabulary, and gauge how these lessons go and what strategies are helping my students to learn the best. ILT 5003 has allowed me to be a reflective practitioner with the hopes of improving as a professional educator.